In a quiet city where everyone knew each other, life was peaceful. People went to work, children played in the streets, and shop owners welcomed customers with smiles. But one day, something unexpected happened that changed everything. A small jewelry store in the heart of the city was robbed. It was a bright Tuesday morning when Mr. Brown, the owner, arrived at his shop and noticed something wrong. The door, which he always locked carefully, was wide open. He rushed inside and found that all the expensive jewelry was gone. His hand shook as he dialed the police. "Officer, my store has been robbed," he said, his voice full of worry. Within minutes, Officer Sarah and her team arrived at the scene. They started searching the store for clues. "No broken windows, no forced doors," Sarah said, confused. "How did the thief get in?" The thief had taken all the valuable items, leaving nothing behind. The police looked for fingerprints or anything that could help them find the robber. But there was nothing. "This thief is clever," Officer Sarah said to her team. "He doesn't leave any trace." The people in the city soon heard about the robbery. They were shocked. Everyone knew Mr. Brown and loved his shop. Who could have done this, they wondered. The thief had struck without making a sound, and no one had seen anything suspicious. People began to feel uneasy, wondering if their homes or businesses would be next. Officer Sarah continued to investigate. She talked to other shop owners and asked if anyone had noticed anything strange. Some had seen a man in a black coat walking past the store late at night, but that wasn't unusual in a busy city. Without more clues, the police didn't know where to look. They hoped this would be the last robbery, but deep down, Officer Sarah had a feeling this thief wasn't finished. A week after the jewelry store robbery, the thief struck again. This time, it was at an electronics store owned by Mr. Lee. The shop was filled with the latest gadgets, phones, laptops, and cameras. One morning, Mr. Lee arrived at his shop only to find that everything valuable was gone. He stood at the entrance, staring at the empty shelves. "How is this possible?" he whispered, his heart sinking. Just like the jewelry store, there were no signs of a break-in. The door was still locked, and the windows were intact. The police were called again. Officer Sarah and her team searched the shop just as they had before. Once again, they found no clues. "It's like he's a ghost," one of the officers said. The thief had taken everything without leaving any fingerprints, footprints, or even a broken lock. It was as if he had walked in and out without anyone noticing. Word of the new robbery spread quickly, and fear began to grow in the city. 2 big robberies in such a short time made everyone nervous. Shop owners started locking their doors earlier, and people were more careful when they went out at night. The thief seemed to be getting bolder, and no one knew where he would strike next. Officer Sarah was determined to catch him. She reviewed security camera footage from nearby streets, hoping to find something, anything that could help. But the cameras showed nothing unusual. "This thief is very careful," Sarah said to her team. "He knows how to stay hidden." The police put extra patrols on the streets, especially at night. They wanted to make sure the thief didn't have another chance to strike. But even with more officers around, the thief was one step ahead. Just a few days later, the thief hit a wealthy neighborhood. A big house owned by Mr. and Mrs. Taylor was robbed while they were on vacation. When they returned, they found their home had been emptied of all their valuable art, jewelry, and money. The police came once again to investigate. But just like before, there were no clues, no broken windows, no signs of forced entry. "Who is this thief?" Mr. Taylor asked Officer Sarah, frustrated and angry. "How does he keep getting away?" "I don't know yet," Sarah replied, "but we will find him." Days passed, and the city remained tense as the hidden thief continued to evade capture. Despite increased police patrols, there were still no new clues. Just when Officer Sarah started feeling frustrated, a young woman named Emma came forward with vital information. Emma had seen a man on the night of the electronics store robbery. He was dressed in a black coat and hat, and he carried a large bag. His eyes, Emma said, they were sharp and cold. This was the first solid lead the police had. With this description, Officer Sarah devised a new plan. She sent undercover officers to watch high-risk areas at night, hoping the thief would strike again. Days passed, but finally the thief appeared. Late one evening, a man matching Emma's description was spotted near a large department store. He was moving cautiously, scanning his surroundings before heading to the back of the store. An officer radioed for backup, and soon Officer Sarah and her team were ready. The thief, unaware he was being watched, tried to break into the store. But before he could get far, Officer Sarah shouted, "Stop! Police!" The thief attempted to run, but the police were too quick. They caught him after a short chase. The police searched the man's bag and found burglary tools and a list of future targets. The thief, who had terrorized the city with his stealthy robberies, was finally caught. Officer Sarah felt a wave of relief. The city was safe again. With the thief in custody, peace returned to the city. The citizens were grateful to Officer Sarah and her team for their dedication. Life slowly went back to normal, and businesses reopened without fear. The hidden thief had been clever, but in the end, he couldn't outrun justice.